This is a true story. It happened to a friend of mine, a guy in high school named Daryl. A nice enough guy, but he had a few strikes against him. First of all, he was cheap. Second, he wore glasses thicker than the lens of the Hubble telescope. And worst of all, he was downright vain, which is hard to do when you look geeky. But when Daryl looked in his mirror with his inch-thick glasses on, which had to be on so he could see himself, what Daryl saw was a hunk. On weekends, Daryl tried his best to be a chick magnet. One weekend, while at the amusement park, Daryl bumped into a girl named Brittany. Literally, bumped into her. His glasses were gone, as was his pocket protector and even his Bill Gates hairdo. Brittany asked him where his glasses were. Fighting back a squint, he said he really didn't need glasses at all. But Daryl still very much needed his specs. But he figured his chances of meeting girls were better without them. Whenever Brittany wasn't looking, he'd sneak his glasses on quickly to get his bearings. Just as quick, he'd whip them off before she could catch him. Glasses or no glasses, Daryl's true wimpiness came out. They rode the kiddie merry-go-round, and Daryl screamed. They rode the little rowboats, and Daryl screamed. They rode the ponies, and yes, Daryl screamed. Bored with all the kiddie rides, Brittany suggested they go on a ride which actually warranted some screams, the roller coaster. Daryl was dead set against it, especially after sneaking a peek at it with his glasses on. But all Brittany had to do was question his masculinity, and Mr. Macho caved in. They got on the coaster. From the moment they boarded, before they even moved an inch, Daryl screamed. And when they started, he shrieked and screeched some more. And then, when they were at the very top of the tallest peak of the ride, Brittany said, "Hey, look! You can see for miles up here." That got Daryl's attention. He stopped screaming for a second, whipped on his specs, and took a good long look. While he was gazing, the coaster whizzed down a steep drop. It dove with such speed, the wind whipped off Daryl's glasses. They just flew away. After the ride, Daryl was wobbling around in a pool of tears and slobber. Brittany finally had her fill of Daryl, and she split. Daryl was completely dejected. Without his glasses, he couldn't even glance in his shop window and imagine his reflection was not a wimpy nerd. One of the Midway carnies saw Daryl feeling his way around and felt sorry for him. He knew a guy who couldn't see couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with a baseball, so he offered Daryl 3 throws for free to knock over 3 milk bottles. I guess luck finally found Daryl. Daryl obliterated every one of those milk bottles. The carny couldn't believe it and reluctantly handed over that week's prize. One real, live turtle. The overjoyed and highly nearsighted Daryl grabbed the prize without even realizing what it was and ran off before the carny could even tell him how to take care of it. 2 weeks later, Daryl was at the amusement park again, and for a second time, he bumped into Brittany. Only this time, he could see. He had a brand new pair of designer glasses. Remembering the embarrassment of the last time she had to give him a brush off, they were both a bit uncomfortable. But Daryl assured Brittany that he would keep his glasses on and said that he was going to treat her to a free lunch. Well, Brittany was hungry and Daryl was so pitiful. Why not? For once, Daryl was being generous. Well, kinda. First, he hurried back to the same throwing game. Assuming that his lack of vision was the trick last time, Daryl removed his glasses. He wound up, and sure enough, threw 3 perfect pitches, knocking off the milk bottles a second time. Brittany was impressed. Daryl slipped his glasses back on and beamed. The carny begrudgingly handed him a stuffed teddy bear. Daryl looked very disappointed, and he blurted out that he wanted the same prize he won the week before. A delicious chicken sandwich on a crusty Kaiser roll. This is a true story. It happened to a friend of mine, Daryl. He's not so vain about his glasses now. He wears them all the time, even when he sleeps.
No.